right now. And the University of Pennsylvania president, Liz Magill, has just resigned. She is one of 3 top university presidents who appeared for a committee hearing on the Hill this week regarding the rise of anti-Semitic incidents amid the Israel-Hamas war. Now, all of these presidents are facing condemnation after appearing to sidestep questions on whether students calling for the genocide of Jews violates their school's code of conduct. The answers drew clear condemnation from everyone from Elise Stefanik to the White House. And Congress is now launching an investigation into the universities. And now we have one of those presidents, again, the president of Penn, has now resigned. Maria Teresa, I watched the hearing. It was not good.
It was so hard to watch. And the fact that I'm here today in congruence, in alignment with the representative asking those questions. She and I are not aligned because she oftentimes is hook and sinker with Trump. But she had the wherewithal to say, denounce genocide. That should not be hard. What is hard is opening up your campus to have real conversations, calm conversations, because the only way we're going to be able to get out of this polarized moment that we're living in America is to make sure that we're talking to our neighbor. And if a university campus cannot have a conversation that does not include insults and threatening behavior, then we're in far deeper trouble than we thought we were.
Sure, Michael. You know, it seemed to me that the presidents were trying, well, first of all, they didn't do a prep before they came to Congress. But secondly, that they were trying to parse what maybe was legal language, right? And they were trying to answer like a legal academic question when it was really a political question. It was a political question, a people question that they did not answer. And they didn't come with the second part. The second part is, this is what, let me tell you what our lawyers would want me to say, but let me tell you what we believe at our university. And in the aftermath of the hearings, they all did that in their individual ways, except the president of MIT. We haven't heard from him. They're real silent at MIT right now. Maybe they're having an internal conversation. But we saw a video from the president of Penn. We saw a number of statements from Harvard. President Gay at Harvard, she did an interview with the Crimson where she just said, I'm sorry. Like, I failed the student body. But it seemed to be, at least for the president of Penn, too little too late.
No, I think so. It may be a little too late for some of the others. I mean, all 3 of us have worked in crisis management before, particularly on the media side. Thursday, it was reported by several outlets from The Hill, Yahoo News, NBC, CNBC, that Penn lost a $100 million donation Thursday from an alum because of the statements from the president. I have a feeling that you're going to see other powerful, wealthy alum from Harvard to perhaps MIT. They're also going to say, we're not giving a single dime to the universities because we do not like the way the presidents are managing the institutions in this very, very difficult cultural time. And I think the boards are going to look at those things and say, OK, it's one thing to say we want to side with one group of students versus another. But when you start impacting dollars, then the board's going to say you got to go. And that's what we saw.
But it's not about siding with one group over another. I think it should be about
humanity. I mean,
I don't disagree with that.
I think the biggest challenge is that they came in with legalese. And watching that hearing, all I can think of was literally former President Clinton asking, what is the definition of is? That's all I can think of. And at the same time saying, how cringeworthy, because if we cannot have these conversations among people that's where you're supposed to be asking these questions in university campuses. You're supposed to be bringing people together, bridging them together and saying, it might make me uncomfortable, but I need to be able to have a conversation with the other side. And that's how we start building rapport and community. In an America that is so multicultural, Simone, the only way we're going to get past this polarization is to be in conversation. And we have to be able to denounce any sort of hatred every step of the way. And if the leadership, the presidents of Harvard are not doing it, then what can we expect of the faculty? What can we expect of the student body?
But Simone, I want to point this out really quickly. So Michael Bashloss, he's a historian for MSNBC. He tweeted this out. 1 in 5 young Americans think the Holocaust is a myth.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that. See, this is, well, first of all, this also goes to why probably in school we shouldn't squish everything post World War II and right after
Black history
in one little week and just but spend all these weeks on the war 1812. But that's another story. I think it is important when Maria Teresa is talking about having the conversations. We need to be able to be honest. And what what the presidents didn't, I guess, feel like they could do before Congress earlier this week, say, hey, calling for genocide of Jewish people is bad. Yeah. It is not acceptable. And neither is Islamophobia. Neither is, like, let's have the conversation. Exactly right. But I just think we're in this place where people don't want to offend anybody.
Maria, I don't know why. How hard is it to say if you're anti-Semitic, it is wrong? If you're Islamophobic, it is wrong. There were innocent Israelis who were killed. There are now innocent Palestinians who are being killed as a result of this conflict. What is hard about saying that? It's not complicated. It's a nuance that younger people who will one day lead the world need to understand.
Well, I think they need to hire both of y'all. We out of time, but hire Maria Teresa Kumar and Sharmichael Singleton, okay? They will be available to advise you for a very high fee. Thank you both very, very much.